Longer LK5 Pro 3D printer. Got one right here. Behind me, you see I've got 4 Creality Ender 3 V2 printers, which I use almost all the time. Thought I would try something a little bit different, maybe do a little bit of an upgrade, because Creality Ender 3 printers are pretty much an entry-level printer, although they do work well. We're going to try something different here with this LK5 Pro. Going to unbox it, put it together, coming up. Hi, I'm Roger. Welcome to the loft above the shop. And as I mentioned in the beginning here, this is the LK5 Pro by Longer 3D printer. We're going to unbox it. We're going to put it together. That's going to be the subject of this video, is the assembly. There will be subsequent videos which will go through the entire setup and the operation and how it performs and all that type of thing. But we're going to get on with the unboxing here and see what's in this box and how much assembly needs to be done. Okay, so let's see what we got here. Got some pink foam. And a little piece of sample filament. Some construction directions, which we will get into here shortly. And a little pack of parts and pieces. I assume this is, oh, snack pack. Do not eat. Okay. Scraper. Figure out how to take this out of here. I will say it's well packed, and it also appears to be partly assembled, which is nice. There'll be a lot less screws to have to put in. That's the upright frame. I'll be spending some time unwrapping plastic off of things. Well, power cord, gonna need that. Some hardware and some tools. Stepper motor. I see a little wrench way down in there. That'd be easy to miss, so you gotta keep your eye open for that. The base part of the unit. I see there's some more parts down inside. I'll set this. Wow, something else is attached here yet. Okay, so this is kind of attached together. I'm going to set this off on the chair here. So there's more things in the box. Bracket. Knob, filament holder, controller. Okay, we got anything else hiding in here? I think I got everything. So we'll get rid of the packing here and we'll get this thing set up. Okay, one of the first things you're going to have to make sure of is to get your voltage set properly. There's a little sticker here on the side of the power supply you need to peel off. Or at least that's what it says, to peel it off. And there's a switch underneath it to switch for the proper voltage for your country, and boy is that sticker ever on there. Well, little thing that says tear off this label, that somebody must not have had to do it themselves. Okay, it comes set for 230 volts, which would be fine if you were in the EU, but I am not. So I will need to flip that little switch. I'm just going to use a weeding tool. It says to use the wrench, but this is handy. A little switch right here. Let's flip that switch over to 115, 110, 120. Depends on how you want to call it. So, important step, don't miss that. Okay, all of your parts that come with this are labeled. The screws all have, grab one of these, little labels on them, tell you what size they are so you won't get confused. It does come with some little alien wrenches here. I prefer to use this type, but these would work just fine. This is just my preference, and I have a whole set of them up here because I'm constantly working on printers. And it's nice to have one of these little magnetic trays so you don't lose your parts and pieces. Okay, the next step here is to put the X-axis gantry onto the Z-axis rods, or the upright here. You'll notice that there's some brackets here. Those need to be facing you. As you pick up the gantry like so, this is the hot end. The nozzle will be facing up because you're doing this obviously upside down. You'll want the cable to be on the back side back here. And this is just a matter of lining up the wheels with the extrusion on both sides carefully so you don't scratch the wheels. Just like that. Okay, next is installing the Z-axis rod. That's a threaded rod right here. You look down there, you'll see there is a brass receptacle for it. It's just a matter of putting the rod in that hole and screwing it in. Okay, next is a Z-axis stepper motor. That's this right here. You'll need two of these 4mm by 16mm screws. There are two holes right here already tapped into the extrusion. The stepper motor will be pointed with the coupling face down towards the rod. And don't worry about getting it in the rod right now. You just need to get this mounted first. Then you'll want to take your rod here and turn it so that it runs up into the coupling. And you may need to loosen the coupling up to get it in there. And you'll tighten that screw up on the coupling. And while I'm at it, I'm going to check the other one, make sure it's tight. And it is. Okay, on the other end of the rod here, where you see this little brass fitting where the rod screws into, those screws are loose. But there's a little thing in the directions there to tell you not to over tighten them, so we'll just snug them up. There are lock washers on them. Okay, the next step will be putting this gantry onto the base. And for that you'll need 4 of these 5 mm by 20 mm screws. The gantry sets like so here. This is the front. You'll see here up here, of course I've got this slid, but the longer on the glass plate, that is the front. You'll want the hot end, it's this part right here, to be facing the front, and these brackets up here will also be facing the front. The screws come up through the base, and I know you can't see that from that side. Let's get those started. Well, maybe it'd be easier to lay this up on its side. We'll do that. Give you a little bit better view of what I'm doing, possibly. And you need to have an 1/8 wrench to fit the screw. I wouldn't tighten them up yet until you get all 4 of them in. We'll do the same thing on the other side here. And we'll get them tightened up. Okay, next are what they call the gantry rods. These are support rods that run from here to there. And there's adjustments on the end for length. You'll need the M4x8 screws, like so. These mount on the inside, not on the outside. So screw will come through there, like so. And then it'll screw into this bracket. And again, don't tighten that up till you got the other end in. And you may need to make some adjustments in length. Okay, this is a little bit fiddly here, so take your time till you get the right length. There we go. Okay, the purpose of these are called Heim joints on the end of this here, or something similar. Eye bolts, whatever you want to call them. This is almost like a turnbuckle, and you can adjust that so that this becomes perfectly square and perpendicular. You don't want this to be off at all. And I've got mine set here, so now all I need to do is tighten these little jam nuts up. And there's a little wrench that came with it here, which I will use instead of fetching another one. Just snug those up. This I need just a hair adjustment. There we are. Okay, next is the limit switch bracket. Almost forgot where I put it. This sits behind the stepper motor here. I'm going to push this down out of the way so you can see this a little better. There are two holes right here. Here's your bracket. It's got a bearing inside that fits over the Z-axis rod. And there are two screws, M4x16. Yes, this floats in there a little bit, it's supposed to. Next is a filament holder. Two screws here. This is the back of the printer. Got two M5x20 screws. This mounts right here. Not sure why they needed screws quite that long there, but that's what it calls for. Okay, next is a Z-axis limit switch. That's this right here. And you'll see on the back, there's a little hammerhead nut. That fits in the channel on the extrusion right here. The bottom of this needs to be flush with that white label right there. It's just a matter of setting this in place. Bringing it down to the label. Making sure it is square. And tighten the screw. Okay, next is the mounted display. You'll need the M5x6 screws that come with it, except whoever did this reached into the wrong bin because these are sleeve nuts. So I have hardware, it's just not going to match everything else. Somebody must have reached into the wrong bin, or it was done on a Friday afternoon or something. So my display screws will be silver instead of black. There's holes in the front of the extrusion that are already threaded. Okay, and the next step here will be connecting cables. So this right there marked LCD, that would be the screen right here. Now this cable is keyed. It'll only go in one way. So don't be trying to force it. You'll see there's two little prongs on one side. That actually goes towards the bottom on the LCD screen. And it should just slip right in. You shouldn't have to force anything. With the limit switch right here, same type of thing. You got two little prongs there. You see these two openings right there. It slips right in. Shouldn't have to force anything. And where do we have here? Let's see, stepper motor. And the little prongs will be facing up. Just plugs in. Now you may not have been able to see that because of the filament holder, but we'll go up here. This stepper motor here, it's the same type of thing. You'll see here one side's open. You'll see the little prongs that stick out on that side. They go towards you on the open side. Slips right in. Don't force anything. And this one here is the Filament Run Out Sensor. It's up here on top. Again, it's the same thing with the little prongs facing the open side. And we have the stepper motor cable right here. This is the X limit. There again, you've got the little prongs. You'll have an open side to that, which will be facing you. Should just plug right in. On the back side here, this nice big fat cable with this is for the bed. There again, this only go in one way. If you look at it, there's a little clip there for release. That goes up. Plugs right in. Shouldn't have to force anything. Okay, on the back of the printer, after you have your wiring harness plugged in, you reach up underneath. There's a little strain relief piece that folds out. And this needs to lay in that. And then you would take wire ties. There's a little slot down there at the bottom. You can slip that through. And then you would just cut those tails off. I don't have my cutter here handy, but you get the idea. Okay, and something you'll definitely need to do is take the little clips off that hold the glass bed down. Because there is a plastic film, like so, you'll need to take off that bed before you use it. Don't forget to do that, or your print will never stick. Then after that, you can just put the clips back on. Try to get the bed square when you do it. Okay, now before we get into the fun part of bed leveling, you need to check the eccentric nuts, and that is for play on your different axes. And the inside wheel has a nut on it, and hope that you can see this right down in here. That's an eccentric nut. It is not perfectly round. So if you, well, these are set perfect. You want to be able to rotate these wheels with just a little bit of resistance. If they slip real easy, or if you can't rotate them at all, by hand, then the eccentric's too tight. And this, everything here seems to be, boy, from the factory, they got that right on. I'm impressed with that. And you need to do that on your X-axis up here, on your two Y-axis sets of wheels. Or I should say your Z-axis. Then you'll need to check the Y-axis down here for wobble. We have wobble. Turn this around so you can see what I'm doing here. Okay, on this side right here are the wheel. That one's way too loose. That one's way too loose. So you would take your wrench and you would turn this nut until that tightens up a little bit against the, still too loose. There we go. There we go. That one a little more. Now it may seem like I'm turning this a lot, but I just need to get the eccentric pointed over, because we want those to be somewhat tight. You don't want it so tight that the thing won't roll. We'll get this turned back around here. Now, no play. That's the way I like it. Now, next will be bed leveling, but to do that, we'll have to get this thing powered up and get it home. Okay, for power up, we got it plugged in, got the voltage set correctly, got a cord on there. Okay, you'll see the screen come up there. I'm trying to do this at an angle. The move button. And right in the center there, we'll take it home. Then we'll take Z home. And we are home. So now what I have to do is level that bed. Little button here for leveling. And there's 5 different buttons here you can push, and it'll take it to that spot. I don't know where we're at here. This is brand new, but this is okay. I'm not real sure exactly where we're at here leveling wise. I'm gonna have to play with this. When you first start out, this can be maddening for some people. Just take your time. If you change one corner, it'll change the other corner and the back. So you're gonna have to keep going around and around until you get everything level. And to do that, I use a sheet of paper. Okay, before you get started with this, you want to make sure that these knobs are turned up far enough that your nozzle does not hit the glass bed as it moves around. So we're going to start with position 1. We want to set our sheet of paper in there, and you'll turn the knob until you just feel resistance on that paper. Then we'll go to position 2. We'll go to position 3. And you'll need to repeat this several times on the initial startup. Position 4. Position 5. And that's a little too tight there because when I change the back corners, the front corners changed. Now we go back to position 1. This is one of them lather, rinse, and repeat things on your initial startup. So this one's way too tight now. Then we'll go to position 2. This could be time consuming, it could be frustrating, just take your time. That one is also too tight now. We're position 3. Yeah, a little snug. Position 4. If you can't slide the paper under it, it's too tight. If you don't feel any resistance pulling the paper back out, then it's too loose. This one is too loose. Now we're back to position 5. Ooh, that feels pretty good there. Back to position 1. Position 2. Just a hair tight. I said you need to be able to slide that paper under there. Position 3. Too loose. Oop, too much. That's good. That's good. One more time. Anytime you mess with one adjustment, it'll change something else. That's good. Good. I could use just a little. Good. Back to 5. And that's good. Take it back to 1. Go home. We're going to go home in the X, Y, and then we'll go home in Z. Z home. Touchscreen's nice. One of my Creality printers has a touchscreen on it. I converted it to the Big Tree Tech. So we are ready to do a test print, but we got to do some bed cleaning first. So this covers the assembling, initial setup, and initial startup of this printer. I know this is starting to get pretty long, and this video here is strictly about assembly and the initial setup and startup. Next we'll do some test prints in the next video and explore some of the other options available on this. We'll also go over what comes on the micro SD card that comes with this, as far as software or what software to use. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting a thumbs up. I know for some of you it may have seemed just oversimplified, but some people need detailed assembly instructions, and that's what I like to do. So if you got anything out of this, appreciate getting that thumbs up, helps the channel. I'm Roger in the loft above the shop. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.